Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I actually have a treat for you. I'm talking with my friend Micah Mitchell. Micah is the co-founder and CEO, I believe, of Membarium, which is a membership plugin for Infusionsoft, or tailored for Infusionsoft, but also ActiveCampaign. And Micah and I were talking a little bit about membership sites because there's a lot of overlap between membership sites and the e-learning space and online courses. And many people are using Membarium with LearnDash. Micah was talking about the 4 stages of membership sites. And so I thought, that'd be great for him to come on and teach you guys about the 4 stages of membership sites. And then also he has a free training program that he'll talk about towards the end of this presentation. But Micah, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Before we jump into everything, how about you give a brief introduction about yourself and your background?
Yeah, sure. So I've been doing kind of marketing consulting for a little over a decade, mostly with Infusionsoft. For about the last, let's see, what would it have been? About 8 years ago, I got more heavily into membership sites and, started doing membership site software for WordPress and more consulting on membership sites. I've done my own membership sites as well. I've helped with a lot of the bigger names, like Ryan Dice and Jeff Walker and some of those guys. And for the last 4 years, I've been doing Membarium. So we've got a couple thousand membership sites who run our software, which, like you said, connects to Infusionsoft, also recently to ActiveCampaign. And I just love, training on membership sites, working on the software. And I love LearnDash. So that's been a big game changer. It's kind of what, to me, revitalized the membership site space. So I've been in it a while, but like I said, a couple years ago when we discovered LearnDash, it really started taking off again. So doing a lot of case studies and just trying to go deeper and deeper into membership sites.
Yeah, that's great. I know that we've talked a lot in the past about membership sites and different strategies for getting the most out of membership sites and what that means today. So as I understand it, you broke this up into 4 stages, and it would be great if you share those 4 stages with us. And hopefully we can all learn something. I'm sure we will. I'm excited to hear more because we've only talked about it at a high level. So you can go ahead and present right now, and I will just sit back and maybe ask a question or two if you don't mind as we go along.
All right, perfect. So yep, I've got a presentation ready and I'll just roll through it, but feel free to interrupt me whenever you want. So it's basically the 4 stages of membership sites. It's kind of about how to profitably grow a membership site. And the reason I think this is important is because even though, you and I are both in this space and we love to talk about membership sites, the truth is a lot of them fail. And there's a couple key reasons, and that's what this presentation is going to go through and help people to avoid. But one of them is trying to deliver too much too soon. Another one is lack of marketing and sales. Another big one is that they can't keep members long enough. And then finally, those who don't see the big picture, they don't quite see how the membership site fits into a business, or they see the membership site as the whole business rather than as a complementary piece. So I want to start off by talking just briefly about the Pareto principle. So what this states is that for many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. It's better known as the 80-20 principle or rule. And it's basically saying 20% of what you're going to do or what you're doing is getting you 80% of your results. And so this is largely built on this idea. So we'll touch back on it throughout. But just to jump right into the 4 stages, stage 1 is infancy. And what this is it's when a site is from 0 to 10 members billing per month or one-time purchases per month. So whether you have a recurring membership or you're just selling courses, it's basically between 0 to 10 billings per month, and that's infancy. Some of the main problems in infancy is that people don't quite know what they're doing yet. One of the biggest challenges is that they have to actually build the site. They have to build a sales page, they have to build an order form. So a lot of this can be technology and then just doing things that they've never done before. One of the biggest opportunities in infancy is creating that basic site and sales message so that you can get a few founding members and prove your concept. So the big opportunity again is that you can prove that, hey, people will buy this. This is a product that people need and want and will pay for. So that's infancy. And again, we'll kind of go deeper into these as we go, but just moving along for a quick overview. Stage 2 is childhood. And in childhood, you're from about 10 to 100 members billing per month or one-time purchases per month. And the main problem here is there's not quite enough members yet. So in infancy, you establish, okay, some people will buy and I've been able to build a site. But in childhood, you're basically saying, well, is there a real business here? So we don't have enough members, to just live on the membership fees. The big challenge is finding enough leads and learning to convert them into customers, basically marketing and sales. And the big opportunity is creating sales momentum that will continue to bring you more and more customers over time. So if you do figure out how to convert people, how to generate leads, and you can set those systems, not exactly on autopilot, maybe that's an overused term, but if you can automate some things, then you have customers coming in for the life of the site, and you can continue to improve upon that. Stage 3 is adolescence. And in adolescence, you've got anywhere between 100 and 500 members billing per month or one-time purchases per month. So we enter into a different stage where the main problem actually becomes that you're losing too many members. So especially for recurring memberships, but even if you're selling customers, you might say that customers aren't, cross-selling, or they're not buying enough of your other stuff. You're basically dealing with too short of a customer life cycle. The main challenge is improving your onboarding and your member experience to be able to retain members longer. And this, I feel, just as a little sideline here, this is where LearnDash really comes in strong. So I would use LearnDash from the beginning, but this is where it shines the most, is because you can really create a great experience. So the big opportunity here is if you can improve your retention, even by a single month, then you increase your revenue for all your current members and all future members that come in. It changes the math on your business. Everybody who you bring in is going to stay longer. All your current people are going to stay longer. They're going to say nicer things about you. So the more engagement, the better experience you can create here in adolescence, the longer life cycle your customers are going to have. And then in stage 4 is maturity. And this is where you have from 500 and up members billing per month or one-time purchases per month. The main problem here is sales can start to slow down due to saturation. At the same time, churn or cancellations become even more significant because you just have more members. Therefore, you have more members to lose. Even at a small percent, you're still losing a lot, and you have to be replacing them. So the big challenge here is creating new products to sell to those existing members. And a big opportunity is learning to cross-sell your new products to increase the lifetime value of all your members and improve the profitability of your business overall. So again, the 4 stages, just a quick recap. Infancy is from 0 to 10, and this is where you want to focus on the basics. You just need a basic site, a basic sales funnel. Childhood is from 10 to 100, and the big focus there is sales. You've got to just learn to sell more members, and you've got to focus on selling. A big mistake in childhood is people continue to build on the site. They continue to engineer, kind of not realizing they're avoiding the sales and marketing. In stage 3, in adolescence, from 100 to 500 members, the big focus is retention. You just got to keep more of the members that you already have, and the members that are coming in, you got to learn to keep more of them. We'll talk about some ways to do this. In stage 4, in maturity, from 500 and up, it's all about ascending members. It's all about upselling, cross-selling, building more products. So that's kind of the basic overview of the 4 stages. And this is going to vary. So it's going to vary based on your industry. It's going to vary based on your experience, your team's experience, and your budget. So, these numbers that I'm giving, they're kind of good general rules, but you might not experience the exact problems at those exact numbers, but you will kind of experience them in that order. So that's a quick, overview. Let's go into kind of a pop quiz just to kind of give, some context to this. So what stage would you add a community to? And if you're looking at this and you're thinking, okay, where do I put a community in? The answer is actually stage 3. So it's during adolescence that you would want to add a community. And the idea is, if you had a community during infancy, you just don't have enough people to really interact in that community. And even during childhood, you might get some interaction. You could do a little better. But the problem that I see a lot of times when I talk to, and I do talk to membership site owners all the time, is that they overbuild too early. And then members come in and they're a little bit confused. Do they engage with the content? Do they go into the forums? Do they go into the Facebook group? Do they interact in the buddy press groups? So people sometimes overdo the community, especially too early. But in stage 3, where your big focus is on keeping members and you have kind of a mass of members built up, it's a great time to add a community. So pop quiz question number 2, which stage would you add a mastermind group to? And this is another thing that people do usually a little bit too early. The answer here is number 4. So this is where you have your basic membership site down. You have sales coming in. You're able to keep members. Things are at a high quality. Now you add more products. Now you add, for example, a mastermind group is just one example that a lot of membership sites do. And even if you're only able to convert, let's say, 2%, well, 2% of your 500 or more members is a reasonable amount of people to put into a mastermind group. Whereas if you did this or tried to sell this earlier, you may not be able to get enough people to join your group, and it kind of can flop on you. And I've seen that happen as well. So I've done all of these things myself, the right way, the wrong way. I've talked to a lot of people who've done them both ways, but that's the basic idea. So again, the community and the mastermind group, just to put a little bit of context around it. But to go a little bit deeper, some strategies for each of these. So in stage 1, when people are just trying to get started, I would say do a smaller course first. A lot of time people think that they've got to have their full curriculum, before they start getting members. And you can really you can start anywhere. You can start with the most basic thing, whether you want to give it away for free or just charge a lower amount or just charge a one-time fee. If your big goal is to have, a very large ongoing membership program, just know that you don't have to start there. Another couple of quick ways to get started is you can record a webinar series. So if you're not used to recording content, or if you're not great at creating content, I would suggest just doing a webinar series where you can do those webinars live. You can have people come into them if you want. And when you're done, those become your content. Same thing with a live event. I really like live events because I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but it's a good way to create a lot of content, and you can even get paid to create that content. If you sell tickets to your live event, then obviously you're getting paid to create your own content. And usually filming somebody on stage, speaking, teaching with slides and having audience interaction, whatever, is a better experience than just maybe something like slides or just audios or just written stuff. So a couple ideas for the first stage: don't overcomplicate it, keep it simple. Another thing is, a lot of times you want to test free versions. So if you have a good idea for a membership site, in stage 1, you can also just go out and blog, you can put up YouTube videos, you can do some webinars and figure out, what flops, what really connects, basically what approaches or what hooks really connect with people. And then once you find something that works, turn that into a course. And I say this because I've had clients before personally who they were in a mastermind group with me. They had invested a bunch of money in software, and ultimately they never were able to sell anything. They made basically all the mistakes. They built a huge site. They used all this technology, super high production value. They never focused on sales because they thought, well, we want to come out of the gate looking amazing. Otherwise people aren't going to think that we're good enough or whatever. They kind of had some inner game, some issues going on there, when they could have just gotten out with the basic version and figured out their sales message. So that kind of leads me into step number 2. You want to start selling as soon as possible. So that's why step number 1 says, don't add a community, don't add any of these things. You don't have to have any of these upsells. You don't have to have multiple levels of membership. You don't have to go too crazy with the gamification and that stuff. You just need to get a basic site up and do some selling to see if it connects. And in stage 2, you push that selling further. So you get a sales letter, you get a sales video, you get a sales webinar. Another thing that some people don't realize is you can offer your membership as an upsell to other products and services that you're doing. So it doesn't always have to be a standalone. Some memberships actually work better as an upsell to something else that you're doing, whether it's an initial consultation, depending on your business, or some sort of service contract or physical product. Sometimes memberships work better as upsells. Another thing in stage 2 that is kind of forgotten too many times is selling over the phone to existing clients. And so if you have, let's say, a law firm, or if you have, any sort of business, let's say it's personal training, whatever it is, get some of those clients on the phone and try to sell them into your membership, because you're going to learn a lot faster that way the reasons that they wouldn't join, what they're really looking for, where the price fits into their perception. So just pick up the phone and try to sell to some of those people. And if it's brand new and you don't have an existing business, then any leads that you generate, you can offer them a free consultation. Just try to get people on the phone, try to sell them into the membership, see what they say, and that will allow you to make quicker changes to all of your stuff, to your sales letter, to your headline, to your pricing structure. So just a couple of quick tips on sales there, because it's such a big subject. We'll go into some more stuff in a minute. But the idea is, in stage 2, you're a full-time marketing and salesperson. Once you're in stage 2, you don't need to continue adding content. You don't need to, tweak your site and change it. And some people get lost in that stuff. But once you get to stage 3, which, keep in mind, stage 3 is where you're between 100 and 500. Now's the time where you can really geek out. You can go deep into gamification. You can add a community. You want to get your members to buy in early through your onboarding process, which we'll go into a little bit more. You can add accountability into the site. And again, in stage 3, this is where most people, what they're doing is they're really in stage 1 or 2. They don't have enough members yet, but they're doing stage 3 stuff. They're overbuilding their site. And it's a big reason, financial and otherwise, why some sites don't get off the ground. And then in stage 4, you can come up with advanced content, meaning you can have whatever diamond, platinum, whatever higher level membership. You can do group coaching, which involves a little more interaction with you, the expert. You can have a mastermind. You can create other products of all sorts, whether it's physical products, whether it's more membership levels, standalone courses, whatever kind of, live events, get-togethers. And the big focus here is you want to focus on upselling and cross-selling. So there's the upsell in the funnel, which means at the time of purchase, basically at the time of any purchase, what else can you sell them right now through a one-click upsell, for example? There's the insight upsells, which means as they're going through consuming content and going through your courses, what can you offer them there? And there's email upsells. So you can follow up by email, put them in a campaign saying, well, once they buy this product, once we've delivered some of it, at least, they're happy. We know they're happy with this product. Now what else can we sell them, or how can we expose them to some of our other products and services? And again, people, they'll come into a membership site and they'll say, well, I need a bronze, a silver, and a gold level, and a double diamond level, and a platinum level. And they'll do all that really before they even get started. I've been talking to one gal just recently who said, she's only got like 5 members or something, but she's got like 5 membership levels. And to split her attention into maintaining all those different membership levels, creating sales pages and sales material for all of those levels, and all the rest of it, it's obviously, getting ahead of herself. So that's just a couple ideas for each of these. I want to kind of jump through a few, go deeper into a couple of the ideas for each. But real quick, Justin, is this making sense so far? Any comments?
Yeah, I really think this is great advice, because you touch on something that we see often, but a lot of times people get inspiration from other, in this case, membership sites, and all they see is the end result, right? And they don't see those steps it takes to get there. So they see the end result where there's many different membership levels and community, et cetera. And so they want to set that up. But what's great about what you're explaining is that there's clear-cut parameters for each stages. So it kind of takes the burden off the person that's creating their site. Like, okay, once I get to this number of membership level or members in this membership level, then I can move to that next stage. And then you can get to, those really fancy, robust membership sites. I think this is all great. I'm really enjoying it.
Cool. And yeah, you bring up a good point, because when you do look at successful sites, you do see the bigger picture. And I'm sure you hear this a lot, but I'll get people all the time who say, oh, I want to do, what Jeff Walker is doing, but for whatever my niche is. And they think that they're going to start there. Or even, what's funny too is they'll come in and they'll say, well, I like what Michael Hyatt's doing and Jeff Walker's doing and Ryan Dice is doing, and I'm going to combine all those best practices into this thing. And it's like, well, have you ever done any of this before? So yeah, your point is perfect, that those people didn't start there. Most of those people kind of went through this sort of evolution. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. And, I got one question before you transition to the next part of this. So a lot of people will wonder if these stages change at all depending on their pricing. So if their price of their membership is $30 a month, do they have to aim for the same numbers in these different stages as someone that's $99 a month?
Yeah, great question. I would say generally the numbers are mostly the same for paid memberships. So the reason I say that is somebody recently said, well, I have, 700 members, but they're all free members. And so I kind of said to them, well, in reality, you have no members. You have a bunch of leads, right? And so, yeah, if somebody's charging $30 versus $100, I'd say you can change these a little bit. So if I jump back to this here where we can see the numbers, so you could say, well, I have a lower price membership, so let me double or triple these thresholds. If I'm only charging $30 a month, maybe I want to get to 30 members. So triple infancy numbers, triple childhood numbers. So you can definitely play with them. And it also depends on how big your market is, because some people are in, very niche markets. Some people are in very broad markets. So I would say it's kind of the, the percentage differences between these that you can focus on. But at the same time, the concept of getting about 10 people to buy, or 100 people to buy, or 500 people to buy, I think that does carry over, So yes, you could double or triple these goals if you have too low a price of membership and you want to change those. I would also say that even with a $30 membership, once you get to 100 members, that's about $3,000 a month or so, then you could move on to trying to keep more of those members. And the reason I say that is because even in stage 3 in adolescence, when you're focused on keeping members, you're still also focused on selling more. So you in all these stages, you do continue to sell and market really hard. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I would say, people can make their own decision if they want to double or triple some of these goals. But at the same time, it is how many credit cards can you get, and whether it's $30 or $100, to me isn't too significant. But I would also look at the market opportunity. Are you selling into a market of a few thousand people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and you can adjust it based on that as well.
Okay, yeah, that's great advice.
Cool. Yeah, and sorry, I'll have to think about that more. Maybe I should come up with something for prices. It's a great question. But yeah, that's how I feel generally. So going into a couple of these a little bit, and I touched on them, but a big thing for membership site owners is live events. And there's an old picture of me standing on stage somewhere, but I love this because you can establish better credibility with a live event. There's something called a credibility shot, where the camera's not just looking at the speaker on stage, but it actually has kind of the audience in the frame with the speaker. So you're looking at maybe the backs of the heads of the audience with the speaker there. It lends a lot of credibility to that shot, again, versus somebody who's kind of filming in their basement with a curtain and some lights and stuff like that. Nothing against that. I've seen some really funny home sets where people are creating content. But just, establishing credibility is great this way. A live event's also an easy way to create a lot of content fast. So for me, at least, sometimes when I've done recordings or try to create content, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go through these videos, and maybe it's just me and I'm a procrastinator and terrible, but it can take me weeks and sometimes even months to create my course content, because I'm just creating a video, and agonizing over it and trying to perfect it and then creating the next video and so on. Whereas if you just say, okay, we're going to do a 2-day live event, it forces you, absolutely forces you to just make it happen. So that's a great way to do it. Another thing is, like I mentioned earlier, you can get paid to do it this way. So you can, get some user-generated content out of this also, because there's members in the audience. You can let them ask questions. You can answer those questions. It adds a lot of value to the content versus just creating it in a vacuum. And then one of the biggest things here is having other speakers at your live event. So I've seen some memberships created this way, where the person who's running the site, they didn't really have to do a lot. They invited a bunch of other people who are experts to come and speak on different topics, and then put that all together. So we've had other speakers at our events, and it's really nice. You can do the same thing with podcasts, with webinars. So any type of live event, it doesn't necessarily have to be on stage, but these are some of the benefits of creating your content live. So when I had said earlier, a webinar series, you could just say, okay, we're going to do 9 webinars over 9 weeks, and we'll have some special guests at a few of them. And it really takes the pressure off of you. Usually people who come in and present do a great job. And you've just created, 9 one-hour sections of content for your site, and you can cut that up and play with it. We'll talk a little bit about how to cut it up in gamification in a second. Some other things to include in your membership. And the idea here is to take some of the pressure off the content, but also give you some ways to interact with your audience on a deeper level that is controlled. So some other things to include: access to discounts on some of your other products and services. So, members get 50% off of whatever it is. Office hours. I really enjoy, you can do webinars. So a lot of memberships say, you join our site and you get to attend a monthly members only webinar. Well, the only problem with that, and this is from my personal experience, maybe again, I'm a little biased here, but I was doing an Infusionsoft membership site. And by the time I got to, month 24 to 36, I'd run out of stuff to say. So I'm on the hook to do a monthly webinar, but I've run out of topics that are interesting. So it kind of got watered down. Now, office hours is a great alternative to that, where you say, once a month, we're going to have office hours, and you can do it more often. But for my site right now, for example, once a month, we do a live Q&A office hours thing where people can come in and ask whatever question they want. They can ask questions beforehand too, if they want me to do a little bit of research on them. But again, this is kind of user-generated content, so I don't have to prepare a presentation every month. I just basically show up and they show up, and the discussion starts based on their questions. And that's a great way to add value to your members, to give them a chance to interact with you, to get their personal questions answered without emailing you or trying to get on the phone with you, and to share that. So when you're answering one person's question, obviously everyone's benefiting from that. So I would just say, look at office hours as an alternative to just doing webinars. There's a lot of benefits there. The third thing here, the critique certificates and 911 calls, this is a really fun concept where you can say, okay, when somebody signs up for my site, if they take, if they pass through these courses, or if they get to course 3 or whatever you want them to get done, then they earn a critique certificate. So everyone who joins the membership, they of course want to ask you all of their questions. And I'll be a little bit rude here and say they want to ask you their dumb questions. And I call them dumb questions because a lot of times people will ask stuff that's in your content. They'll ask newbie questions, basic questions that you definitely cover in depth somewhere in your content. They just don't know it because they haven't dove into the content. They just become a member and they write into support and they say, hey, this is my situation. What's your answer? So when you provide a critique certificate, you put some parameters around that and you kind of train them how to interact with you. You just say, and not that support's bad, providing good support's great too, but you can say to them, look, once you've passed through module 5 and you've done whatever it is I'm teaching you to do, you earn a critique certificate, which is where I'll spend 30 minutes with you on a meeting, or maybe you can just send me logins to your thing or pictures of it or whatever it is. I've had music membership sites where they send an audio recording. I've had sports and athletics where they send a video of, for example, someone serving in tennis or whatever it is. They submit something to you for you to critique. So it's like they have to go through your content, reach a certain stage, and then they have to submit something, and then you will spend personal time on them, whether it's one-on-one on the call or whatever it is, they earn it. So it's better for both of you because it protects your valuable time. The whole point of the membership site is to do one-to-many content production. And it actually gives them a reason to get through your content. And when they do get through your content and when they do put it into practice, then you'll give them personalized feedback, which is going to be a great experience for them. So it incentivizes them and it really gets them going, taking action, which is what we all want. The 911 call is pretty similar. And this is where you might say, hey, after you've been a member for at least 6 months, or for anyone who signs up for a yearly membership instead, you earn a 911 call, which is where you can reach out to us and I'll call you back. We can spend 15 minutes on the phone or however long you want to give out. And this way, if someone has an emergency or they have a major opportunity related to the subject matter that you're an expert on, they can get a hold of you and they can talk about it. But again, you put some parameters around this saying you have to either be a member for so long or have purchased an annual membership or whatever it is. So these are some ways, when somebody signs up, you can immediately say, hey, as a member, we're going to give you a critique certificate, which is good after you've reached this level, yada, yada. And we're going to give you a 911 call, which is good after you've reached whatever level. So you can deliver value to them immediately, again, with some parameters around it so that they can get the one-on-one interaction they want, but it's structured in a way that protects your time and gives them the best value. So another thing people sometimes neglect to add to a membership, but I think is really powerful, is delivering something physical. So GKIC, for example, I'm in their membership and I get a magazine in the mail and an interview transcript, and there's a swipe file. There's like a CD with an audio version of the transcript, of the interview. And I've never been online. I've actually never logged into their membership site, but I'll never quit because it's a monthly membership. I pay about $70 for it, $60 or $70. But I love it because I get this stuff and I go through it every month. It's not lost in my inbox. It shows up, my wife will get the mail or I'll get the mail and I'll see that and I'll set it here in my office and I won't, file it or throw some of it away until I've gone through it. So it's great to add some physical stuff to your membership. A big question here is, what is one of the biggest keys to retaining members? And it's onboarding. So one of the mistakes people make is they'll say, oh, I've got all these members. Now I need to figure out how to keep them. And I learned this the hard way. If you've already got them, chances are you've missed your best opportunity to keep them, which is presenting them a great initial experience. So when people first come into your site, you can do a one-time welcome video. A lot of times sites will have people accept terms and conditions as part of this. So, the first time they log in, show them something special that welcomes them to the site, to explain some of the terms. They hit a button that says accept, which mostly we do that with LearnDash. It's kind of like the mark complete action. A big thing too is, so that's just kind of getting them into the site the first time instead of just dumping them into your content. A big thing too is giving them a quick start. So, you give them, here's the number one thing you need to do when you join our site, or the top 3 things for new members. Whatever it is, the idea here is to give them a quick win. So direct their action, especially membership sites who provide a lot of different things. They come and you say, oh, we've got hundreds of videos to choose from, and you can interact here or there, or go download this other thing. You really want to direct them, especially in the beginning, to get some quick wins, to get set up fast. You can ask for feedback early. This is where you just give them a little form that says, hey, tell us what you think of the site. Tell us what you would like us to add to the site. And it's kind of an interesting little psychological concept where when they provide feedback, they're actually more bought in. So they're more bought in because they took time and energy to provide some feedback, whether you implement that feedback or not. And I'm not saying to not implement it. I'm just saying that just by asking them, they'll be more bought in and more interested and more engaged. You can also get them to customize their experience. A simple example here is, let's say the site's about losing weight. So they can go in and they can customize their experience by entering their metrics. How much do I weigh now? What are some of my goals? Age, some of those things. And then the content can be a little bit tailored to them based on that. And there's a lot of softwares that can do stuff like this. But another one is with a lot of sites that I've seen, even if it's quitting smoking or if it's something about making money, whatever it is, you get them to actually state their goals. So right as soon as they come in, one of the things you ask them to do is, why did you join the site? What could we give you, or what would be an outcome that would make a huge difference in your life? And then they fill that out, and then you can publish that back to them, meaning you can, when they're going through the content, it can be listed in a sidebar, for example. Remember you're here to ... whatever they put in, and it reminds them of their goal. You can email it to them as well. But these are just a couple small tips on onboarding. Another kind of cool one is called the Endowed progress effect. And this is where if you can provide somebody some type of artificial advancement toward a goal, that person will be more motivated to complete the goal. So an example is, Carwash card. If you give it to them and they have to stamp all 10, it's a lot different. It's a card that they can just throw away rather than if you give them a card with 2 of them already stamped. So the idea is when they come into the membership site, you might have a couple of their tasks already checked off. Hey, you joined the membership, you logged in for the first time, you watched the welcome video and accepted the terms and conditions. Now all you've got to do is 1 or 2 more things to get through the first major stage and earn your first reward. So this touches a little bit on gamification. But again, the Endowed progress effect, it reduces the amount of perceived work, because in this case, I only have to do 80% of the work to get to the goal because 20% is already done. So it reduces the amount of perceived work, and it also creates what's called task tension, which is where started but unfinished tasks are thought of more than those not started. And I think this is where LearnDash is so huge. And obviously, like I said, I love LearnDash. I'll try not to get too fanboy on it, but the progress bars, the check marks, all of those things, they seem kind of simple, but they have a really profound effect on people in a membership site. A couple things on the fun side. So you can theme your membership site. One of the ones I love on this is the Great E-Course Adventure. And I know they use LearnDash. We did a little bit of an interview with them, but they're big fans of LearnDash as well. And when I say theming, they kind of themed their content around this journey up a mountain. So, in different videos, they would be standing there before trailheads or at different mile markers, different camps along the way. And as they created their content, they actually grew out their beards and their hair. They were in full costume, climbing gear and everything. So you can dress up, you can have fun. You can make it fun outside of just the technology is kind of the point there. And if you want to go look at the Great E-Course Adventure, you'll see more of what I mean. But this leads me into gamification. And this is Khan Academy. So this is a free educational site for kids mostly. And this is my son's profile where he wanted to earn all these badges. And this is when he was a little bit younger, but he earned all these meteorite badges, for example. So at the top is the badges he earned, at the bottom is the possible badges. And what's funny about that is we homeschool our kids, and Khan Academy was one of the things we wanted to use for that. And so we said, hey, go on there because they have some good courses on math. But our kids, without us saying anything, they went and earned all of these badges, which took them through a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of programming stuff that, again, we didn't even ask them to do, but is really valuable stuff. And they did it because they wanted to earn the badges. It became a game. And the stuff that works for kids, it works for adults too. I know, LearnDash integrates with a bunch of stuff that helps with this. But here's one of my old sites, and I think this is why I say kind of the learning management stuff revitalized memberships for me. So I had this site. This is what the top of it looked like, zoomed in. This is what that page looked like from further back. So these are all my videos, right? And I thought I was doing a good job saying, look at all these videos, and I've listed the time of each video, and there's so many videos. Nobody wants to go do this. You know what I mean? This is terrible. So we went in, we gamified it. We added quizzes, we added points, we added badges. We also put things in the right order, and sometimes that's the right order based on level. So if somebody comes in and says, there's part of that customizing their experience during onboarding, if they say, well, I am a beginner, or maybe I'm intermediate, or maybe I'm advanced, then you can push them ahead and you can say, oh, you're advanced? Well, okay, you can skip a couple of these courses and start over here so they don't get bored. Another cool thing you can do with, for example, a combination of LearnDash in our case, and we used Infusionsoft for one of my clients who taught tennis, is throttling. And this is where, yes, you can let people just access all the content at once. And maybe for some types of content that makes sense. You can also spoon feed people, and you can say, hey, we're going to give you one piece of content a day, or whatever it is, one piece a week. But what I like about the combination of LearnDash and Infusionsoft is we were able to let people go through kind of on demand, but if they started going too quickly, we'd say, hey, you've got to wait a little bit. And the idea, and we created some, messaging around this, but the idea was, okay, you just watched this video on how to hit a forehand. You can't move on to the backhand because there's no possible way you did what we asked you to in the video, which is to go out and practice this shot 200 or 300 times. So, we'll release the backhand to you in another couple of days. For now, go out and practice your forehand. We're not going to let you move ahead. So that's what I mean by throttling, is sometimes it's in their best interest to not let them go too quickly, because somebody who's trying to increase, improve their game in tennis, for example, they're not going to be benefited by just going through the content and not ever getting out on the court and trying what they're learning. So it kind of forced them to go out and try what they're learning. And there's also some checkpoints in here where they would upload a short clip of, their serve, their forehand, their backhand. And it was one of their homework assignments of upload a clip of your forehand, then go through the content, then practice it, then upload another clip of your forehand. And we want to see the difference, where you started and where you ended up based on going through the content. This is kind of a look at that site that I had. So again, looking at this ugly site with just a list of videos, we turned it into this, where it's separated into little courses. The courses have little progress bars. And when you go into an individual lesson, again, this is just using LearnDash with a little bit of styling, but the things check themselves off as they go. And you can see on the right hand, there's the progress bars of things they've done and where they're at currently and what they still have left to do. So that's just a quick shot of the quizzes. I'm sure everyone watching this is familiar with LearnDash, but one of the concepts, kind of an advanced concept when people are using LearnDash, besides just allowing members to track their way through the course, is what's called ROE. And one of my good friends, Mike Weiss, who's also a big LearnDash advocate, he was the first one to mention this to me. And ROE stands for return on education. When people used to buy a course or buy information, they would buy the course and they wouldn't open it, or they might even open it, but they wouldn't get all the way through it. Or even if they went through it, they may not implement it. And they might even, again, implement what's in it, but not get any results. So there's all these things standing in the way of them getting a return on whatever the education was that they just took. So one cool thing, I think amazing thing that LearnDash does is allows people to get certified. So I grabbed some funny ones here. You can be a certified gluten practitioner, certified chimney sweep. And then I liked this bottom left one. If you're not getting certified, you're certifiably nuts. What's cool about certifications and badges, again, what the return on education is, people can list these on their website. So if you offer a certification program, your clients get a much bigger return on that because they can list them on their website. They can list them on resumes if they're trying to get jobs. They can list them on social media profiles. They can use them in sales presentations. I was in San Diego a couple weeks ago, and a guy said to me, I forgot how he put it, but it was something like his opening line to me was, we're the only agency who's certified in Infusionsoft and I think it was story brand marketing or something. So their basically whole pitch was, we're the only people who are certified in these two things. And that's what tells you that we're qualified. So certifications, there's a lot there. One of the other big things besides the value that your clients can get is that you as a company, when you present your course, instead of just as a training course, but as a certification course, it actually increases the perceived value of your course almost automatically. Obviously you want to still make amazing content and a good experience, but positioning it as a certification course makes the value of it seem a lot higher. So another way to multiply the value of your membership site is with something, we call it parent-child, but it's basically where one member can sign up and then they can add members underneath them. So this can make the value seem many times greater because it's kind of like they're getting a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 or 4-for-1, whatever it is. You're saying, hey, you buy one account, we'll give you multiple. It's great for business to business because it can help that business scale. It can provide them some consistency and oversight. So if you're selling training to a business, that business owner probably wants some people on his team to go through that as well, or her team to go through that as well. So by having everyone on the team go through it, they can have a consistent approach to whatever it is. And also with this tool, the owner, the person who signs up for the membership, can have some oversight into what their team is actually doing. So as they go through and pass a quiz through LearnDash, for example, an email can go to the membership site account owner and say, hey, so-and-so passed this. It's also good for families or sports teams, obviously, but the big key here is with LearnDash, when people are going through and they're marking lessons complete and taking quizzes and so forth, if that person shares their account with somebody else, then that account is really a combination of multiple people's quiz scores and progress. Whereas what this actually does is there's a parent account, and when they add a child user, that child user gets their very own account with totally separate tracking and quiz scores and all the rest of it. So for example, some of our clients who are using this really well, they sell to a business and then they say, hey, Mr. Business Owner, here's the high level training for you. And you can add members of your sales team in here and they'll get sales related training. You can add members of your support team in here. They'll get customer service and operations training. You can add members of your accounting or finance team here and they'll get that type of training. So it really adds a couple dimensions to a membership site. And again, this is good for some family situations, sports teams, and even sometimes for accountability. I've seen a couple sites do this really well where they say, hey, when you buy a membership, you get a gift of a membership to one of your friends and they can be your accountability partner. So whatever the membership is, getting them when they buy to be able to give a gift to their friend and for them and their friend to hold each other accountable to get through the content, that can be really valuable for getting them to purchase in the first place and also for getting them to engage and finish the content. And like I said, here with the parent-child, everyone gets to track themselves individually. So it keeps everything kind of separated, makes it fun. Another thing here, we talked about community earlier, but I'll give you a couple tips when you do build a community. First of all, keep it really simple. So big mistake here, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is people will have too many ways to interact. There's peer-to-peer messaging. There's 100 different groups that people, like subgroups that people can go into. You have a forum and a Facebook group. How do they decide really where to interact? So I would say keep it as simple as possible. And the best case studies that we've done with some of our most successful membership sites, they'll say, oh yeah, we added a community, but we cut out all these features. That's a really common theme is they added it, but they cut out stuff to get people to focus their community interaction in one place. And it also makes the community seem more vibrant to have more interactivity, kind of in one place again, versus one or two interactions in a bunch of places. So no matter where you go, you're only getting a little bit. A really cool thing, I talked to one of my clients who's got several big membership sites. He's out of Australia. They sold a bunch of lifetime memberships to limit early churn in their community. So what I mean there is he wanted to launch with a community, but he decided, well, instead of selling a bunch of monthly memberships where people will come and go, the first group of people who come into here, a few hundred of them, I'm going to give them a lifetime of membership for the price of one single month. So those people who came in, they're going to love him. They're never going to quit because they have a lifetime membership. And it means they're not going to leave the community, and it's in their best interest to see the community thrive. So he basically presented it to them as, hey, I want to have an initial group of lifetime members. I'm giving you this great deal. All I really ask is that you support new members coming in as we start to sell other members. And so it kind of got the ball rolling and created some momentum in his community of, hey, here's a built-in group of a few hundred people who are never going to leave and who have a vested interest in making this community great for everybody. Another cool thing with community or a tip is I had a client and they had a very small site. I want to say it was less than 100 members. And what they did, I was doing a case study with them and I was watching members come in and interact while we were on the case study. A little thing would pop up and say, so-and-so commented, so-and-so are in this badge, whatever's happening. And so I just asked like, how, I know you don't have that many members. It's a cool site, but what's this all about? And she said, well, my husband, who in this case was a subject matter expert, he planned for the first 100 days, I think it was 100, maybe it was 90, to put something into the community every day. So once they launched the site, for the first 100 days, he had like a thought, a quote, a little idea, a little question for the group that he would go in and plant in the community and ask for comments and feedback and so forth. So he planned these constant updates from the top, from the leader, to get the ball rolling for the first few months. And when I circled back with them later, they still had a very vibrant community because the people had learned to interact in the community all the time. They learned to ask their questions there. They learned to talk to each other there. And so they were just trained from the beginning because of the example of the leader to, use the community, make good use of it and make it a valuable part of that membership site. Because I have seen a lot of these communities that just kind of look like a ghost town. Somebody installed all the software, they installed all the tech, they created all this functionality, but nobody's using it. So just a couple of tips there. And I think there's, basically one more tip here and then we'll move on. But let's say you've done all this. Let's say you've created a good site. You've got gamification, you've got a community and all these things. For driving traffic to it, for feeding that beast, there's a couple things. We with Membarium, we have a cool feature called Google First Click, which is where your membership site content, which would usually be hidden from the public, people couldn't access it, couldn't see it, wouldn't be indexed by Google. This allows Google to index it, and then allows people who are browsing the ability to go to one page. So they can pull up one result, they get their first click for free, and it lets them access the content as a full member. But if they try to go to anything else, your regular membership functionality takes over and basically says, hey, you're not a member, click here to join or click here to learn more, whatever it is. And also Facebook crawler, where you can share membership links, and it allows Facebook to crawl the page to pull out that little excerpt that Facebook does where it says, here's the link and this is what the page is about and this is the image or whatever. So it makes your membership a little more shareable. It gets indexed, like I said, and people can engage with it a little more before it interrupts them and locks them out versus just being a lockdown vault. Another good idea for feeding it is creating teasers out of transcripts. So if you have a bunch of videos, get them transcribed, provide the transcriptions as a teaser, or maybe just part of the transcription, depending on your content, as a teaser. That's really good for SEO because you've got a lot of written content now instead of just videos that are hidden. And somebody can come in and get the gist of it and then click over to learn more or join your membership. Same thing with your video. So you can transcribe videos, but you can also create smaller videos that, kind of go to commercial, which means if I had a 10-minute video, I might take 2 minutes of it, make that public, but after the 2 minutes, it would be interrupted, by me, or in your case, by you saying something like, hey, are you enjoying the video? Well, members of our whatever program get full access to videos like this and many others, blah, blah, blah. So it kind of transitions from free content into a sales message, and you can put those on your site, on those pages. So again, those pages get indexed, but you can also go put them out on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you can. So the idea here is if you've gone through the effort of creating a bunch of membership site content, don't just leave it locked away. Make it double as marketing content by using some of these features that let some of that be seen to an extent. Let it, let people engage with it, and then do whatever you can to transition them into being members. So those are just a few ideas around it. I know I've kind of been rolling for a minute, but the idea was to take somebody who was just getting started or even was struggling with a membership site and help them become a membership genius. And I really do believe that if you understand these 4 concepts and some of the deeper principles behind why you would use some of these pieces of technology, you're a lot further ahead. You're basically a membership genius compared to some of the people who they see it as all technology. They think, well, if I get these 5 tools, I'm going to have an amazing membership site. It's not always true. I wish everybody luck with that, and I hope they're successful, but the tools don't make it true. You've got to understand why to use them and when to use them. So always keep the 4 stages in mind. And the hard thing here is when let's say you're in stage 2, the hard thing is having self-control enough to focus on the main challenges, problems, and opportunities of stage 2 versus skipping ahead and just saying, well, I really want to start a mastermind group though, or well, it really seems like fun to have a community or to add gamification or whatever. It's not that any of those things are bad. It's that if you do them too early, they can really slow down your progress and in some cases make it ultimately be unsuccessful, which I definitely want people to be successful. So thanks everybody who's watching for your attention. One thing is we do have a free video series, as Justin mentioned earlier. There's a lot more depth on the 80-20 rule, some tips on what to do in different stages. There's a membership site calculator in there, which helps you, especially in stage 2, understand, okay, if this is my goal, and we talked about maybe you want to double or triple some of these numbers, whatever your goal is, it helps you calculate what you need to start doing on a daily basis to get there. And then in video 3, we go more in depth on some of these same marketing ideas related to each stage. And then a little bit about joining membership.coach, the full program. But for anybody watching this, if you go to learndash.com/MC for membership.coach. So again, learndash.com/MC, it will take you to those free videos. So Justin, sorry, I was kind of rolling for a while there. But yeah, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I was happy to let you keep talking because it was just, you were putting a ton of content into there. And first, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to share your knowledge in the membership site space with us, because that was quite the presentation. And I think even if people just watch this, they have enough to get started, enough to get going. But I would encourage anyone to go and check out those free videos. And why not? I mean, if it's anything like this presentation, then you're offering really a course entirely for free on setting up membership sites.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I hope it is useful. Some people say don't pack as much in and leave a lot to the imagination, but I hope people can just watch this and go get started. But definitely there is more if anybody's interested in more.
If somebody had some questions, Micah, how could they reach out to you to ask you questions about membership sites or the free videos or anything like that?
Yeah, thanks. Great question. On the videos themselves, actually, there are comments. There's Facebook comments under there, and I'm right now replying to all of those personally. So if you go over to this page and watch any of those videos and just comment below, you can ask whatever you want in those comments. Also, you can just go to membership.coach and go to support and ask questions there. So, anywhere you can ask a question, feel free to, and that'll make its way to me and I'll answer all of those personally.
Okay, great. Well, hey, thanks again so much for this video. A lot of great content and really appreciate it. For anyone else watching this, check out learndash.com/MC or go to membership.coach.